Well, hello, everybody. My name is Tim Bryce, and thank you again for joining us for Wednesday night edition of Monsoon Awareness Week. Today, we are excited. We are talking about my favorite subject of Monsoon Awareness Week. We're talking about lightning. I love lightning. I don't like some of the results, of course, but I do like just how it looks. In my younger days, I love to go lightning chasing and taking pictures of it. Those days are gone. But I enjoy seeing all the beautiful pictures other people post on lightning. But what we're here today to talk about, more importantly than just the aesthetics of lightning, the kind of the safety aspects and some of the dangers and hazards of lightning, because that's the important thing. We want to talk today about giving you, the person, a way to protect you and your family from the monsoon risk of lightning. But before I go any further, I want to introduce everyone. Again, my name's Tim Bryce. I'm a forecaster in the El Paso, Texas office. Joining me on the call is my boss, John Fawcett. He is the meteorologist in charge in El Paso. And then just working down the line here, we have Miss Bianca Hernandez. She is a forecaster over in Phoenix. And we've got Alex Tardy, the WCM there in beautiful San Diego. And then I work my way on down the line. We've got twin Alexes here. We got Alex Booth. He's forecaster in the Las Vegas office. And then we got Miss Abigail Duvall. She is a forecaster in Midland. And then finally, I almost forgot. We've got our special guest, Ron Hawley, who works at Vaisala, and Kenneth Drozd. He's over in the Tucson office. How you guys doing?
All right, very well.
Very good. All right. Well, I really appreciate everyone joining us tonight. We got a full crew. Let me give me just a second here. We're also doing this on Facebook, and I want to get it up and going. And here we go. All right. So I want to talk today. First of all, I'll just go straight to our guest, and I want Ken, tell us a little bit about yourself and what Vaisala does as lightning goes.
Well, I work for Vaisala as a consultant. Vaisala owns and operates the National Lightning Detection Network. It detects 90% of all the cloud-to-ground lightning over the United States, and also a very large amount of cloud lightning. So we have a real-time data feed that comes into the National Weather Service, and it goes to lots of other customers. The reason I'm here in Tucson is that the operations center is down by the airport here in Tucson, and I have an office next to the operations center that's open 24/7, managing the customers for Vaisala lightning detection actually all over the world.
Very good. And I know that me as a forecaster, I depend on that lightning data as one of the tools, one of the indicators for a storm's severity, whether it's getting stronger or weaker. We've also seen here in the last few days how lightning can start fires and things like that. Now, Ron, the new GOES satellite has a lightning detection mapper on it. So when we get that up and going, we can just turn off the Vaisala lightning detection network, right? We don't need it anymore?
Well, I don't think so.
You could tell I'm setting you up for that one.
The Vaisala network is actually very precise on the cloud-to-ground lightning and the cloud lightning, accuracy of a couple hundred yards, and detects very high percentage. The satellite is looking down from above, and it sees more of the cloud lightning extent, but it doesn't know too much about what happens once it goes downward. So they're complementary, but both of them are going to be needed, of course.
Of course, and I was kidding when I said that, but I do look forward to comparing them and using them both operationally. But like I said, right now I use the lightning detection network on a regular basis. But let me let some others talk here. Mr. Alex, you're there in sunny California, where it never rains. What are some of the issues that you guys have with lightning during the monsoon season?
Hi, Tim. You must have heard that song about California, because that's a rumor. Yeah, so for us here, lightning is obviously not as frequent as it is during the monsoon in Arizona or during the summer in Florida, the capital of lightning out there. But when we do get lightning, it's typically we're on the western edge of a weather system,
Hmm.
and moisture's coming up from the south. And the problem that we have here is it ends up often causing fires or additional fires, and that's even when it's a wetting rain because our fuels can be so dry like this time of the year. So any lightning can be a problem. Just a couple of years ago, we had some lightning outbreaks along the coast, even,
Hmm.
and it affected our beaches with hundreds of lightning strikes. It was one of them was in July, one was in August, and then another one was in September, and scared the heck out of a lot of people on the beaches because they were not used to any type of lightning or thunder in this area. Hit a few palm trees
Oh,
and
wow.
really put them on fire. So our big threat is when we get lightning, whether there's rain, a lot of rain, or just a little bit of rain, is the product of getting that lightning on our dry conditions that we normally have during the summer, and that causes wildfires.
Yep. I've seen that many times for us that we'll see all of a sudden a wildfire start right after a thunderstorm, a day later after a thunderstorm goes by, and it was almost for surely started by lightning. But before we get too far into kind of lightning safety, and I am going to go over, lightning safety indoors, lightning safety outdoors. I want Ron to kind of step us through how, maybe what lightning is and how it forms.
Well, during the monsoon, the lightning is generated high up in the clouds, up at temperatures colder than freezing, -5 to -15 Celsius, or at least below freezing. All lightning originates with a mixture of water and ice particles, small hail, supercooldrapas, and then it comes downward toward the ground in steps that are about 50 meters, 50 yards. And when it reaches close to the ground, only at that time does it really decide when it's going to hit. It doesn't really have any knowledge higher up about what it's going to strike. So at the very lowest tip, when it comes down, it's looking for that high, tall, isolated, and or pointed object. And if there is no tall, isolated, pointed object, it will hit water, it will hit bare ground, hit the desert. It still has to come down to the ground.
Exactly. And you know what I tell people is that lightning does not like to go through the air. Air is not a good conductor of electricity. And what I tell people, what lightning likes to go through is either metal or water. And if it has to choose between going through the air or going through you, it's going to choose you every single time because we're made mostly of water. But like Ron said, maybe it can find a big antenna sticking up, a tree which is full of water, anything like that. If it can pick out something sticking up, that's what it's going to go towards. But like I said, it has to be discharged. So even if it doesn't find something to discharge on, it will definitely make its way down to the surface. Here in a little bit, I'll show a video of super slow-mo of some lightning taking place. But I want to talk real quickly now about some lightning safety. Miss Bianca, if you're outside and you hear thunder, what should people do as far as lightning safety goes?
Well, we have that super famous saying, when you hear thunder roar, go indoors. And you should at least wait 30 minutes because lightning can strike up to 60 miles away from the actual storm itself.
Definitely. And let's see, I have people tell me, when we're talking about, I'm trying to find my lightning safety graphic here. So pardon me as I dig through here. But basically, when you're outside, you want to go inside is essentially what you want to do. And you don't want to be outside if, you want to get into a building or anything like that. And here are my safety tips. So here's some safety tips. If you're outdoors, get inside. One place that there's a lot of confusion on is a car. And a lot of people say don't get in a car because the metal attracts the lightning to you. And actually, that's the exact reason you want to get into the car because the lightning will stay on the outside. As long as it's an all-metal car, it'll stay on the outside of the car and treat it. The technical term is a Faraday cage, but it treats that lightning as it stays on the outside, kind of like a fluid. If you poured water on top of the car, it'll flow down the sides of the car. Lightning behaves the same way. If it strikes the top of the car, it goes down the sides. So actually, being in a car is a pretty safe place. But of course, the safest place to be in is inside any sturdy building. I have some of the safety tips up there for being indoors, but I'm going to ask John Fawcett, can you kind of walk us through what are some of the, it's a good idea to be inside, but even inside you need to take some precautions. And what are some of those? Oh, you're muted, sir. And while he's unmuting himself,
there we go. It took a while for that thing to appear so I could click on it.
I understand. So, hey, John, real quickly, I forgot to mention, if you guys have a question for us, feel free to tweet at us on Monsoon 2018, or I see people are on Facebook. I see lots of people on Facebook. And if you have a question, just type it in there on Facebook, and we'll be happy to answer them. But anyway, Mr. John, talk us through some of the indoor lightning safety tips.
Well, the indoor, and I'll go by memory because I can't see the graphic right now, but indoor safety tips, one thing I need to point out is, yeah, it's better to be indoors, but you don't want to be around anything that current from a nearby strike coming into the building can be flowing through, like anything plugged in or a landline telephone. There's actually been fatalities from people talking on the landline with a nearby lightning strike. Cell phone's probably okay. One of our co-workers actually was watching television back in the day when you didn't have remote control, and he started to get up to go switch the channel. Lightning hit the house. It went through the television, exploded the television, and threw him back, but he was fortunately safe. So yeah, that's that. Don't get near any plugged-in appliances. And yes, you may be stinky and need a shower, but hey, plumbing, water, that type of thing, you want to stay away from that too. I know most of us don't think about this until maybe lightning hits within the next block, but yeah. Lightning can travel indoors.
It's very true. And but again, if you understand things, you can kind of mitigate that, because again, lightning wants to get from the cloud to the ground the easiest way. And the easiest way for that, well, I take a pause here because I think I just heard thunder outside.
Let me go outside and look.
I've seen some people on Facebook saying that there's some lightning in the lower valley of El Paso, which is not too far from my house. So basically, if you're inside, the lightning wants to get again from the cloud to the ground, and it's going to pick water pipes, electrical pipes, and things like that. So anything that it can do to kind of, anything you can do to avoid those favored paths for that lightning would be good. All right, I'm going to show some lightning statistics here, but I'm going to come back to some people here. Be thinking of a lightning myth that you can bust, because that's what I want to talk about next. And then I'll have Mr. Ron explain to us how the lightning detection network works. But I wanted to show everybody the lightning fatalities over the last few years. They've actually been, the great news is, I think the Thunder Roars going indoors is doing its job very well, among other things. But here you can see the lightning statistics for the last 10 years or so. And you can see 2017, we actually had a record low number of lightning fatalities, 16. That's amazing. If I remember right, just 30 years ago, we were pushing like over 100 lightning fatalities every year. So that is pretty amazing. And if I'm doing my math right, there's only been 5 lightning fatalities so far this year. So I think we are on record, on pace to get even another low. We got to get through the summer because that's when we have our kind of a peak of lightning fatalities. But we are doing good so far this year, and we did a great job last year. 2016, as you can see there, kind of a grim year, kind of a bad year, but we hopefully we're every year we're reducing those. All right, so we've all heard about lightning myths. I want Mr. Alex there in Las Vegas. What's a lightning myth that you'd like to dispel for people as far as lightning goes?
Well, the one I hear all the time. My family's, I don't know, they still think it's a myth, but they still think it's true, even though I tell them every time they talk about it that it's a myth. That lightning doesn't strike the same spot twice. I've actually seen this happen before when I was in Oklahoma, chasing some storms. We were sitting in a restaurant after everything was passing us, and we sat and watched a telephone pole get struck by lightning about 6 times in like an hour. So it definitely will strike the same spot more than once. So if it's struck somewhere near you and you think you're safe, chances are you're not. So get to a building or something that has some substantial structure to it so you can kind of get away from the lightning.
Very true. And, I think the Empire State Building has been struck, I don't know how many times by lightning. So it's definitely a myth that lightning doesn't strike twice in the same spot. For the 2018, here where the lightning fatalities have been so far: Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Florida. And, it's not incorrect that Florida already is ahead of things on the lightning fatalities. Ron, can you kind of walk us through why Florida has so much lightning, and probably they're not only the lightning capital for the United States, but probably the lightning fatality capital for the United States as well?
Yes, Florida actually has more lightning overall for many years. Two things. One is the population has grown very large in the last 25 years. It's actually exceeding New York and so on. There's also lightning every afternoon somewhere over the state, and so there is a lot of exposure. I do want to point out, though, that here in Arizona, for example, the lightning frequency in July and August actually rivals that of Florida, but our season doesn't start till about the 1st of July, and it only goes a little ways into September, and then it stops. So we do very well in terms of lightning during the monsoon here in Arizona, as well as the surrounding states, but the season is short, much shorter than in Florida.
Exactly. And here's actually a map produced by the gang over at Vaisala, showing how lightning in Florida is the big winner, unfortunately for them, in many ways. And then you can see there's a kind of a high through the Midwest, and then it starts to tail off as we head into the western part of the United States. But like Ron is saying, and that's actually a great point, is that we may not, if you average it out through the entire year, we may have a lot less, but during the monsoon season, we will rival just about anybody in the United States. And I know that as a fact for today, in particular in southern New Mexico. I pulled up my lightning app, and there was just lightning all over the place, just from the few thunderstorms that we had popped up from the amount of moisture that's just now slipping back into the southwest part of the U.S. as we kind of eagerly await what Hurricane Bud brings us later on in the week. And we've mentioned it all week. It's kind of interesting how we're going to actually probably work our way through each of the monsoon hazards as we go through this week. We had very warm weather on Monday and Tuesday, and actually Wednesday for parts of the area today. But then the moisture is going to come in. We're going to get lightning in parts of the area today and tomorrow. And then I had some really gusty winds here earlier, so there were downburst winds. And of course, by the end of the weekend, we may actually have some flash flooding rains. But I'm going to go over to Abby there in Midland. Miss Abby, do you have a lightning myth that you'd like to kind of talk about?
I don't know if I have a myth, but I grew up going up to Colorado and hiking in the mountains. And one of the things that I always remember is that they would say, "Oh, let's all stick together. Like, we got to stick together." And that just kind of made me think of that bullet point that you said, or that was on the slide that said groups need to spread out. And that's very true. It talks about the current and, spreading out and staying away from trees and canopies and stuff like that. And I've definitely experienced some of that firsthand. So yes, spread out. That's definitely, you're not safer in groups in that situation.
Exactly. I've heard stories. I've seen pictures of cattle who, when it rains, they'll all gather under the trees, and then of course the lightning strikes the trees, and the picture of all these dead cows around the tree. And I've heard similar stories of large groups of people who have gathered in one spot to get out of the rain or something like that, and that spot is a spot that is struck by lightning, and you have multiple people down on the grounds, like Miss Abby's saying, spread out. And if somebody is struck, that the others can come and assist that person. The lightning myth that I would like to kind of dispel and talk about is the lightning myth of that. I've heard people say that if somebody's struck by lightning, don't touch them because they still have the electricity in them, and that's not true. It passes through their system very quickly, almost instantly. So if someone is struck by lightning, more than likely what has happened is that their heart has stopped, and our heart is powered with an electrical kind of charge that makes it beat, and when that's disrupted by the lightning strike, it messes up, it stops. But it is completely safe to touch somebody who has been struck by lightning. Matter of fact, they need you to immediately start performing CPR. And as I understand things, most of the time, especially if it's a kind of a secondary strike where it's like strikes the trees and then comes down to the roots and things like that, or you're up against a rail or something and it comes down that way, most people can be resuscitated and brought back to life. Whenever you see somebody who has been struck by lightning, or even a group, you always go to the person who appears the most, I guess, for lack of a better word, dead, and you perform CPR on them, and many times you can revive them. Ron, I was wondering. Let me ask Ken. Ken, they're in Tucson, because I don't want. I like going to Ron because Ron's our lightning expert. But Ken, I'll talk to you there. Ken, in Tucson, how does topography come into play for lightning? As far as you guys have some higher terrain and some lower terrain.
Sure. I mean, certainly, thunderstorms tend to form first on the mountains, and so we tend to get a lot of lightning there to start off any typical monsoon day. And so there's going to be fortunately a lot of lightning there on the higher terrain. As the monsoon days progress, a lot of times the storms will then move off the higher terrain into the valleys and bring the thunderstorm and lightning threat to those areas a little bit later in the day, and sometimes then later the mountains are not receiving as much lightning.
And I think Ron, you can correct me. I think you can actually kind of see that on the graphic. I've kind of zoomed in on it, and you can see where Tucson is as far as the Mogollon Rim and places like that. And then it gets to be a little less as you work down into the lowlands. And the same thing for our area. If I can highlight here on the map, these are the Sacramento Mountains here, and these are the Gila region, which is another higher terrain. So again, it does look like that's where your thunderstorms many days will start there in the higher terrain, and then work its way off the mountain. So definitely terrain can play a factor. And I know that also you're being a little higher up. Ron, do you think it's more likely to be struck by lightning up in the mountains versus down in the lowlands? I've heard people say that.
Actually, in a lot of places, particularly in the front range of the Rockies, like in Colorado, the highest lightning frequency is on the slope of the terrain. The lightning may start over the highest terrain early in the day, 10 or 11 in the morning or noon, but then the largest amount of lightning is often on the slopes, like on the Mogollon Rim, on the slope of the rim rather than on the highest elevation. So the danger moves, as Ken said, on downward into the valleys. And here in Tucson, we have actually a maximum around 5 or 6 or 7 p.m. in lightning because of the downdrafts coming off the mountains. So it's very dangerous at that time of day also.
Very good. Now I have a bunch of lightning statistics that I found from 2017, last year. The Weather Service put out a bunch of graphics. And basically, here's lightnings by age. And basically, if you're younger, more likely to be outside, you're more likely to be struck or killed by lightning. Good news is, as we get older, there's less likely of being struck by lightning. But that's not because of your age, it's just more likely to be outside. If I jump, let me see, I think I got lightning fatalities by month. again, no surprise to anyone. You can see by month, as we head into the summer months, is when we see most of our lightning fatalities as far as that goes. So let me see. I haven't asked Miss Bianca. Do you have a lightning myth you want to disperse or talk about?
Well, I know something that people mistake is that if the storm isn't directly overhead, oh, well, then I'm not at risk for getting struck by lightning. And that's completely false because it can strike from very far away. You may not even see the storm. It might be blue skies over you and you could still get struck. So that's definitely something that we tell people all the time is like, if you can even hear it, just go indoors. Don't even risk it.
The blue is many times is what I've heard as a problem because you don't have to be right underneath that thunderstorm. And I've seen plenty of pictures of the lightning that reaches out of the thunderstorm to strike somebody. Ron, how far does lightning usually travel? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, we've done a number of studies of lightning relative to the rain shaft or the radar echo at the ground. And probably over the U.S., around 10% of the lightning occurs outside of the rain shaft. I think in the West, it's probably a higher percentage of that. The lightning occurring 15, 20% of the lightning, cloud-to-ground lightning, is actually occurring with no rain falling at the ground. Here in Tucson, I think all of the offices we're talking to today probably experience a higher rate of that. And that's part of the problem with safety, is that it's a perception that it's not dangerous, but it really is. I have something here I want to hold up, if I could.
Oh, please do. Of course.
We developed, I did with a PhD student at the University of Arizona. This is online. Just type in "so you think you know lightning." It's full of myths and statistics and yes and no questions. And Ken's well aware of this. We've been advertising it quite a bit, but lots of things. And so just type in "so you think you know lightning" and you'll find it. It's also in Chinese if you want that, but it's probably not too many people here are interested in that. So we
very good
through the questions of many of the myths that were talked about here. It was kind of hard to come up with one-page responses to these questions. We always wanted to write more, so that was a real challenge. But this just came out a couple of months ago, and it's online now.
Oh, very good. I will for sure bookmark that resource. Well, I can't believe it. It's almost been 30 minutes. I did real quickly want to show this kind of graphic. This again strikes, this shouldn't be a surprise to many people, but this is lightning fatalities by activity. And, you know, most of the time people are out playing around, whether they're fishing, playing baseball, softball, on a boat, swimming by the beach, by the pool. You know, occasionally people are at work. There's a lot of people that have to work outside, and sometimes work puts people at risk, you know, trying to be high up. And wow, I just saw right outside my window a very bright lightning strike. So I'm glad we're wrapping things up so I can follow my own advice and get everything shut down here. But basically, daily routine is just people going about their business, and I don't know what unknown is. But basically, so many of the lightning, oh, listen. I don't know if you could hear that, but it was the thunder. So real quickly for anybody out there, if you ever want to figure out how far away the lightning was, once you see the lightning flash, you start counting seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Every 5 seconds, the lightning that you count between the flash and the thunder is a mile away. So if it's 12 seconds away, it's about 2.5 miles away. All righty. I want to go ahead and wrap things up. Wow, I can't believe it's already been 30 minutes. I did have one question there. So, Ron, the question here on Facebook is there a particular area of the storm where the lightning forms or originates?
Well, in the monsoon season, in the western states, all of the lightning is originating during the day, high up in the updraft. But then as the storm matures and, as we were mentioning, goes out over the valleys, it can spread out over the valley in long horizontal sheets, and those can reach distances up to 50 miles long And along that path, we've seen it at night where we call them anvil prowlers or spider lightning. And along that path, there can be individual cloud-to-ground flashes come to ground. And so what we say in lightning safety is that overhead lightning is just as dangerous from a potential strike as a cloud-to-ground is, because they can come down to the ground at any time, any location within that path.
Wow, very good. Thank you. All right, since it's 8:30, real quickly, I'll run down the line. Mr. John, do you have anything, a quick safety tip for everyone to pass on?
Well, I do have a myth, and that is the leader of a Google Hangout is not immune from lightning strikes. And looking at radar, Tim, that stuff's not far to your southeast. So yeah, you got to wrap it up. That's the only thing I wanted to throw in there.
Well, thank you. I will be shutting things down here very quickly. Miss Bianca, do you have any last words of wisdom?
No, yeah, I mean, just once again, when you hear thunder roar, go indoors. Can't say that anymore.
Very good. Short and sweet. I like it. Mr. Alex in San Diego, one last tidbit of information.
Yeah, sure. We had one myth that we were going to share about.
Oh, yeah, please do. Go ahead.
Heat lightning is the one I love. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always, thunderstorms, the light travels really well and far, but the sound not so good. So sometimes in the summertime, especially at night, I used to go to bed at night watching what appeared to be heat lightning. You could just see the flashes in the sky and then no thunder. So always kind of cool. But the real story is that lightning, which is 5 times as hot as the sun, I mean, that lightning is making the air expand, and there is thunder. You just can't hear it. So in our area, for us, it's more just being aware of the few days when we do have lightning and taking it seriously.
Definitely. And, so many people there in Southern California will be out doing something in the mountains, and that's where they are at risk. Mr. Alex in Las Vegas, the other Alex, what is your last tidbit of information for everyone to take home? And you're muted, sir.
There you go. So you mentioned it about boaters and stuff like that. We get a lot of people that tend to go out on the waters here, a couple of lakes around. Yeah. It's really important that they have some notification system so they can actually get weather information when they get on the lake, because things can rapidly change and evolve. And a lot of accidents end up happening because they don't have a weather radio, which we end up transmitting all of our severe warnings and any necessary information they need too. And they have coverage over there. So it's important that I always tell anybody going on the lake that don't have a no weather radio, they should probably think about investing one, because it's definitely worth it. And it could save your life or your family's life or friends or anybody who's on your boat. And just be careful when you're out on the water, especially when you see clouds starting to build, because lightning is one of the quickest things that could cause your day to go down in the dumps.
Well, for sure. And, you bring up a good point, because with lightning, and as far as being out on the lake, it's one thing to be on the land that you can, if you hear thunder, you can just go inside real quick. But when you're out on the lake, it takes so long. Even if you're any distance from shore, if you hear thunder, you still got to drive, go in, get into the marina, and then get off of the water. And that can take some time. And you need to be more proactive. If you're out on the water, we do have several lakes around Arizona, southern New Mexico, and then up there in southern Nevada. Keep an eye to the sky, or like Alex said, just have a way to get the message before it's too late, because once you start hearing thunder, it's actually too late. The lightning can get you. So be a little proactive if you're going to go out on the lake. Miss Abby, do you have any last words of wisdom?
Yeah, I think you kind of just reiterated, just if you can hear the thunder, you're probably going to be at risk. I was just talking with my other forecasters here, and we were talking about that, and it was just like he was saying, yeah, that if you can hear that thunder, you are probably going to be at risk for getting struck. So you definitely need to head inside and take the necessary precautions to keep yourself safe.
Very good. And what I tell the school kids when I talk to kids about safety, so many of them want to go inside, and what's the first thing they do? They pick up their Xbox or their PlayStation, And that was just like what we were talking about. That's the wrong thing to do. So the thing that I suggest for people to do is to go inside and read a good book. So whether it's on an iPad, because that's as long as you're wireless, you're okay, or the old-fashioned kind with paper. So I really appreciate everyone joining us today. We're actually 5 minutes over. I appreciate everyone joining us on Facebook and on YouTube. You guys were great. Good questions that I saw coming across, and I hope we were able to answer some of them. But like I said, I want to thank everybody on the panel today. We had a good representation all the way from Midland, West Texas, all the way to Southern California. So we covered the whole thing. So that was great. I appreciate everyone joining us. Like I said, I got lightning going on right outside my window. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up tonight. So thanks everybody for joining us, and have a great day and stay weather aware. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.